In this video, we're going to be talking about validation. So, all I have is 3 different emotions, essentially, or states of being. In validation, what I'm trying to do is say, you're putting forth some effort and kind of give you feedback on a feedback loop on whether your effort is moving in the correct direction of the conversation. So all I'm going to say is, wow, that's amazing. You did really well. Or you're doing a great job. Love the straight arms. Love the effort. You're doing awesome. You're on target. Or you're pretty close. You're almost there. You're not that far away. You got a little bit of a bent elbow, but if you could just straighten it a little bit more, you'd have straight arms. Or, all right, so I see that you're putting forth the effort, but let me come help you so you can feel what it needs to feel like. Or I see that you're trying, but here, let me give you a few more pointers so it helps you improve a little bit better. So the empathy is going to change based off of the spectrum, but all I'm trying to do is take everybody and push them this direction and be like, you need to be in happy land. We need to be in high validation land. So the empathy, I might empathize a lot more with this person, empathize a little bit less, and then empathize, I don't really need to empathize at all because nothing bad's happening, and I can more celebrate with them, and that might be a form of empathy, but I'm celebrating now their successes. And so instead of being frustrated with this person and being like, you're not even doing close to what we're doing, or that doesn't even look like straight arms, instead of criticizing them or critiquing them, because that's not going to drive them in this direction, I'm validating their effort, no matter how small it is. They showed up today. I'm so glad you showed up today. Now let me help you get closer to where we're going. Oh, I really love how you're pursuing it with effort, or that you're trying. Let me help you. Oh, thanks for giving me eye contact when I talked to you. Thanks for stopping when I said your name. Thanks for lining up when I asked you to line up. I'm finding any reason to find any reason, X, Y, or Z, okay, any reason to then take that person and be like, inch them closer this way. Any reason I'll find. And same thing with this person. You've got to find a reason. They're starting now here on the story. It's like, how are you going to inch them closer that direction? And so that's what validation is. I used to use the word correction. Okay? I used to use the word correction. This is what I think about the word correction now. I don't think it's any good. I don't think it's any good because correction, even though there's like the correct, the compliment, the correction sandwich or something like that, may give a correction, then, or whatever, give a praise and then give a correction, then give another praise. It's too complicated. I mean, nobody's going to have that's not how the conversation works in real time. Because you've got 8 kids that you're trying to manage and you're just basically saying yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. That's generally how it works, especially if you hire somebody that knows nothing about gymnastics. So to simplify it, it's validation to me. To me, this is the biggest game changer on how to have a conversation, especially when it comes to training other people who know nothing about this sport, is to say, you look at their effort, and you see what part of their effort is moving in the direction that you want it to, and you label that, and you validate that effort, and then you ask them to inch closer in your direction. Ignore that their feet came apart, ignore that your knee, ignore all these things. Go, oh, you jumped off the block to the mini tramp onto the mat, loved how you did that. Now next time, let's try to land on our hands and feet. You get them there. Then you go, next time, let's try to get our feet together. Next time, let's try to get our knees together, or any of those steps, and you're inching them closer by acknowledging their effort, validating their effort, and then labeling it, and then moving it forward. So that, to me, is the validation story. But there's not always, sometimes, and this is going to be in the next video, sometimes this person is moving as far away from you as possible, and they're going the opposite direction. And that's where the next video is going to talk about redirection. And what do you do to redirect this person who's not on board with your conversation? In this video, I'm now discussing, all right, so in this video, we're going to be talking about validation. No, we're not talking about validation. We're talking about redirection. Get that out of here. Okay. In this video, we're talking about redirection. Now, in the past, I would have used a different word for redirection, but I think that redirection helps us better understand the point of validating in the conversation. The conversation is basically us taking our ship and sailing it in a direction. And validation is telling everybody else that their boat is going in the same direction we are, or they're jumping on board our ship and going in the same direction. We're validating the direction. But sometimes we need redirection. Sometimes this person is like, I want nothing to do with you. I don't want to be a part of your process. And so what are you going to do with that person? So there are some steps. Now, you hope that it doesn't come to this. You hope that you can find some aspect of their effort, empathize with them, and you hope that they're going to attach to that empathy and they'll inch closer to your direction. But again, key word, you might have to redirect them, okay? Now, it's important that you empathize. And by empathize, I mean you need to look at this person and figure out what they care about and what they want and label it. I see that that is more interesting than what we're doing. Oh, that was a really cool front flip. I saw you did that front flip, super cool. However, that's not what we're doing. So, as cool as that is, I need you to come back on board with what we're doing, and then maybe at a later point in time we can do that. Most students who need to be redirected are showing you exactly what they want. They're showing you a behavior that's saying, this is what I want. And so it's so easy if you just just chill out for a second, kind of take a pause, figure out how to empathize with that person to figure out what they want and how you can connect with them, and then redirect them. Most things people want is just the wrong time and the wrong place. So tell them when the right time and the right place is. But until then, we need to redirect you. Start over. Start over is an individual experience. Can be, but it doesn't have to necessarily be an individual. But if you think of it like individual experience, an athlete is on tumble track and they're taking their turn, and the first thing that they do is just this forward roll that just mushes. It's like, come back here, start over. Starting over someone just lets them know that there's a standard and an expectation for them to try to achieve. And it also allows you to get more engaged in a conversation with them and have that conversation again. Do you remember the conversation we had? You hear all the validations I get? Push your hips more this direction, push on your arms, duck your head, whatever it is. It allows you to, again, validate effort again. So you start over. That's the first thing. This person's moving the wrong direction. Start them over. Come back here, start over. If the start over is not working, and what I see is you have an individual and you have a group. I don't see that one individual gets away with something and then two and then three and then you go, okay, I got to start. No, if one individual is getting away with something, you're not starting that one individual over. Two individuals will get away, three, the whole thing falls apart. So it's start over the individual, and there's usually only one because it usually starts with one. Start them over and set the precedence for everyone else, or you're going to have to restart the whole entire group. When you restart the whole group, you just say line up, and everyone lines back up, and you talk through the conversation again. Now, the reason why you would talk through the conversation again after the lineup, after the restart, because it's boring. No kid wants to sit there and listen to the same exact story. So they sit there like, oh, why do I have to do this again? Well, you have to do it again because you weren't actually applying it. So we're going to restart, okay? So we're now going to restart because the one person who's being started over is affecting the whole group, and now everyone else is buying into the silliness or the distractions, this disruption. And so you're going to line them back up and you say, okay, I'm going to tell the whole conversation all over again, burn some of your time and make you kind of bored. And then it's just a little bit, they feel a little bit of the irritation, and you go, do you want to feel that? And most people are like, no, I don't. You're like, cool, let's go on the tumble track because it's way more fun than having to tell you everything all over again. So you restart everybody. If the restart doesn't get the result that you want, then you have to reset. Now, the difference between the restart and the reset is these two are very similar because you start back. You start back wherever the student left off. So if you're at progression 5 and you have to restart them, they just start at progression 5 and they do progression 5 again until they get where you want to. If you have to restart the group, they just come back in at progression 5 and you say, cool, let's go back to progression 5. But the reset is going back. You should reset them. So you turn your computer off, you hit the reset button, it has to go back to 0 and they have to load back up starting at the beginning. So they might be all the way at progression 7 and all of a sudden you're like, we're resetting this. You're going back to progression 1. Boy, that's going to drive the point home. Like I'm not going to deal with the silliness. You guys want to deal with the silliness? We'll just go back to progression 1. A hard reset is when these are not working. Okay, this didn't work, this didn't work, this didn't work, and they're likely to fail at sometimes. Sometimes there's difficult groups. A hard reset is like you've got to pivot. So now you've got to have a backup plan. You have to say this is not working. Usually a hard reset requires a change of energy. So you need to change energy. And all that means is if maybe your KPI that you're chasing, the outcome that you're chasing is numbers driven, then change the energy and make it more about quality driven. Make it more about time, work for time. Make it more about moving. Make it more about anything different, but just pivot on the type of energy that you're pursuing after. Most oftentimes I see that if you ever have to hard reset somebody, they just want to move and they just want to do stuff. So it's more like pivoting to things that you can just go, 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 and make it more of a circuit. So that's kind of changing the energy. These are the 4 stages that I see really happening in the redirection phase. You hope that it never comes to this. You hope that you can find empathy with this person and turn this person's frown upside down and be like, yo, let's get you to a happy person who wants to go in the direction, you know, sail on my little ship with me and let's all go the same direction. You hope that you can get them to go with you. But if you can't, then these are generally the things that have to happen. I see the start over works really well when you're trying to get quality. If you're doing like lines on a floor and you just start somebody over, and all of a sudden the other person's like, I don't want to be started over. And so everyone's sitting there like, I don't want to be called out. And it doesn't have to be with a scowly face. This is the other thing, is when you're doing subjective stuff like this, they don't understand what the measurement is. So you need to be very clear about the outcome that you're pursuing and why a person would need to start over. Don't just be like, start over, and they're like, why? And you're like, It's like your elbows are bent. Or start over, you didn't land with your feet together. It's got to be something very clear so that everybody else hears the precedent set. If you just go start over and no one knows why, they're going to be in a state of anxiety, and then the performance will decrease, or their interest level will even change because there's no hope, because they don't understand. So part of it is trying to get them, giving them the feedback and information. As an athlete or a group matures, you can remove the reason why and create mystery, but now it's a game and it has to be treated like a game. It can't be treated like a punishment. So you're saying start over and they look at you and you're like, can't tell you, you got to figure it out. And then now they're all looking amongst each other trying to figure out why they had to start over. And so now the group is thinking more and they're more engaged and you're playing a game with them. And so if you're going to use it in a game sense, then you have to change your body language and posturing on how it's delivered. But this is the idea of redirection. This is the 4 steps, and that's the simplest I've been able to boil it down to. So now in the conversation or the story, you have a conversation, you have validation, you got redirection. They're all working together to get the student on board with your whole training program. So hopefully that was helpful. In the next modules and segments, I'm going to be talking about the experience and how to make that experience even more magical than it already is.